Yeah, you don't know anybody.
When you wish
Kids with a Wish, the Iowa program that has made dreams come true for 76 terminally ill children. The heartwarming story of the program, the children, and the man who made it happen. Sunday, February 15th at 5.
You don't need to know anybody if you have a dream.
This is your TV station, 5 TV.
The Russian word is glasnost. In English, it means openness. Its latest result, scores of Soviet political prisoners set free.
I want to Israel.
But today in Moscow, they were still roughing up demonstrators and harassing the press. Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline.
You see a dark
Sore spots like Chernobyl on view to the world.
It looks like a large...
Defectors invited home. Even a hint of political reform. Is it all too good to be true? Among our guests, Natan Sharansky, who spent 9 years in Soviet prisons.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
I've used it before, but it seems appropriate to use it again. Mark Twain's famous story about the cat, which burned itself sitting on a hot stove. The cat never sat on a hot stove again. Of course, it never sat on a coal stove either. Those looking for genuine liberalization inside the Soviet Union have been burned so many times that it is only natural to be suspicious this time around. What is Mikhail Gorbachev really up to? These last couple of days, under 2 decrees of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, political prisoners are being released. So far, the Soviets claim to have pardoned 140 of them, with a similar number still to be released. The State Department estimates that this would come to about 40% of the Soviet Union's political prisoners. Merely a gesture? Something that can be easily revoked? Perhaps, but as Nightline correspondent Marshall Frady reports, Mr. Gorbachev, whatever his motives, is making a lot of significant gestures.
In Dr. Zhivago, from Boris Pasternak's novel of the Russian Revolution, Zhivago, a physician and poet, confronts his brother, a Bolshevik.
You lay life on a table and you cut out all the tumors of injustice. Marvelous.
I told him if he felt like that, he should join the party.
Ah, but cutting out the tumors of injustice, that's a deep operation. Someone must keep life alive while you do it, by living. Isn't that right?
For his own writings, to keep the individual heart alive amidst a harsh communist order, Boris Pasternak was condemned by Soviet authorities and died in official disgrace. Now, amazingly, he's being reinstated, celebrated, and Dr. Zhivago seems soon to be published in the Soviet Union. Ballet star Mikhail Baryshnikov, who defected in 1974, has been invited back to perform in the Soviet Union. And freed so far almost 200 political prisoners, including Anatoly Sharansky, Yuri Orlov, and leader of the Soviet dissident movement Andrei Sakharov, released from exile in Gorky to resume his work in physics. What is going on in the Soviet Union?
Vatican II, I think, is a good parallel. Vatican II upset a lot of the conservative Catholics. And Gorbachev is doing much the same kind of thing. He's saying to the conservatives, your way is not the good way. We're going to liberalize the thing, and the conservatives are saying, what is this?
For 70 years, life in the Soviet Union has been locked in the implacable machineries of totalitarian control, ruled by an aging succession of the tough and grizzled old Bolsheviks who made the revolution. Then, assuming leadership 2 years ago, Mikhail Gorbachev, a sleek and capable technocrat, was soon forging from the Kremlin out among the common folk, for all the world like an American politician in some primary campaign. A campaign, it turned out, to revitalize the Soviets' totalitarian system by applying democratic reforms, a paradox putting him, some suggest, at war with the nature of communism itself.
He's turning his back on the holy of holies, the monolithic communist state. He's talking about bringing in 9-party people. He's talking about bringing in foreigners and joint ventures. He's talking about allowing private enterprise, even though restricted.
Gorbachev's most provocative move, the new policy of glasnost, or openness, throwing back the curtains to let a little daylight in on that Soviet system supposedly destined to inherit the world, illuminating its failures. Now being reported in the Soviet press, chronic harvest problems, social problems like drug addiction, pornography, prostitution. Widely reported, too, Gorbachev's massive offensive against official corruption and incompetence. Thousands of firings, arrests, most stunningly, an official of the long sacrosanct KGB fired for framing a journalist investigating corruption.
There are no taboos now. There are no, so to say, forbidden topics for Soviet press at present time. That's what the glasnost is about. You wouldn't find that those topics, say, 5 or 4 years ago. So it's a very bold and daring step forward.
Perhaps bolder, Gorbachev's proposal to introduce a semblance of democracy into the workings of the Communist Party itself. Multiple candidates selected for a post, but elected by secret ballot. But all of these seemingly heady democratic initiatives, how real are they? Is it then the same old brutal totalitarianism merely wearing Gorbachev's genial face?
We must understand that under communism, under one-party rule, it will have to remain an authoritarian society. Perhaps a less oppressive one that has been for some time, but still an authoritarian society.
Yet Gorbachev faces little choice but to try renewing that Soviet system through radical measures. Otherwise,
they will become a third-rate, not just a second-rate, but a third-rate industrial power, and doing that means that also their military capability will be threatened, and they won't be able to keep up.
But Gorbachev's resort to small rations of democratic reforms also amounts to a distinct gamble. Can the process be contained? In 1968, Czechoslovakia's growing democratic appetites were only subdued by Soviet tanks. Poland, the democratic exuberance set off by Solidarity, required another iron crackdown. And when Khrushchev in the early 60s allowed freer artistic expression, proposed party reforms, it so unnerved the party he was shortly deposed. Now Gorbachev faces the same internal front of resistance, the old party guard, the Soviet bureaucracy, perhaps more seriously, the military. But Gorbachev's battle to liberalize the Soviet system, what if he should manage to pull the whole thing off?
Then the Soviet Union indeed will become a much more sophisticated society, much more sophisticated economy, and potentially a much greater threat militarily.
That may have been what Gorbachev meant when he recently proposed, quote, "If democracy develops under us, then we win." Gorbachev does confront us with a beguiling image, at least, of a Soviet leader far more urbane and tolerant than any we've known before. But what we still don't know is whether behind that amiable appearance there remain the same old totalitarian ambitions. This is Marshall Frady for Nightline in New York.
When we come back, we'll go live to Jerusalem to talk with one of the most celebrated former Soviet dissidents, Natan Sharansky, who has serious doubts about how far Gorbachev's openness policy really goes.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Subaru.
In 1981, the French ski team missed an important meet. The U.S. team arrived early. And in 86, the Italians ran into a small problem. The U.S. team arrived early. For 10 years, the four-wheel drive Subaru has helped the U.S. ski team get a jump on the competition. Except in 84, when the Swedish women's team broke down. Subaru, the official car of the U.S. ski team.
Howdy, man.
Of all the movies you can see this year, see Platoon.
nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture of the Year, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and 2 nominations for Best Supporting Actor. See the first real movie about the war in Vietnam, the movie all America is talking about. Platoon, rated R. Now playing at a theater near you. Check newspapers for times.
Has Mrs. Garrett had too much to drink?
I'll just sleep it off, you know. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mrs. Garrett, are you okay?
Judy, are those twins you?
That's an interesting fogger.
It was a lot more fun emptying it the first time.
The Facts of Life, weeknights at 6:30 on 5 TV.
I bought this by mail. They said it would grow hair. See any hair?
The ad said this gadget would save gas. It did. Now my car won't start.
They said I could make money stuffing envelopes. I think I got taken.
Most of the time when you shop by mail, you get what you were promised. But if you don't and suspect mail fraud, call your postal inspector or local postmaster. It's our job to fight mail fraud.
We'll give those envelope guys a licking.
Don't take getting taken.
1949, TV commercials open a new world to consumers. And suburbia is born as mass-produced housing gives GIs homes of their own. Watch Our World Thursday.
With us now live from Jerusalem is Natan Sharansky, who changed his name from the Russian Anatoly Sharansky when he settled in Israel 1 year ago after spending 9 years in Soviet prisons and labor camps. Mr. Sharansky, if any man has earned the right to cynicism, you have clearly paid the price and earned that right, but is it possible that you are being too cynical in questioning the motives now of Gorbachev? You're out, Orlov is out, Sakharov is out, 140 of your friends and colleagues are out, 140 more are due to come out in a matter of days or weeks. Isn't that progress?
Well, it will be very hypocritical of me to say that my release for me personally, as well for my family, was empty gesture. It was real change in our life. And I'm very happy each time when I hear that some of my friends is released. But at the same time, I'm very careful in saying that there are some fundamental changes in Soviet policy. These changes are in style. Changes are in some concrete cases, but not in the essence. Openness doesn't mean opening of the Iron Curtain. It means, first of all, opening of the West to get access to Western technology, trade, sophisticated technology, credits, and so on. And let's see what's happening with Jewish immigration, one of the most indicative factors of the situation inside the Soviet Union and immigration in general. In fact, during this year, the situation was becoming only worse. Not only that many refuseniks got new refusals. Well, there was big publicity in the West that many of them are proposed to apply again, but there is almost no information now in these days when there is a wave of new refusals to the old time refuseniks.
Mr. Sharansky, let me interrupt for a moment because you're driving a lot of information in there. I'm not sure we can keep up. Let's start first of all with the number of political prisoners. As I indicated at the top of this program, the State Department believes that if another 140 are released, as appears to be likely, that roughly 40% of all political prisoners will have been released. Do you accept that number, that figure?
First of all, let's see, where are those 140 people who are released? You know, only 2 days ago I was speaking with some dissidents in Moscow, and they said that they, at this moment, are already released, who are available to talk, only 3. And all the others, it looks, sit in the prisons of Kharkov, Kiev, Moscow, and other cities, and KGB tries to make them sign some papers about pardoning, and they already publicize as if they are already released. Nevertheless, if really all these people will be released, and if really Article 70 and 190, as we are now promised, will be cancelled, that's really very encouraging step.
Tell me quickly, what are Articles 70 and 190? What do they mean?
it's so-called anti-Soviet activity and dissemination of anti-Soviet rumors. It's the main articles which are used up to now against dissidents and which are continued to be used. And for example, 2 days ago, they said that Yosef Begun cannot be released, who is under this Article 70 sentenced. Why? What was his crime? He was a Hebrew teacher. Now, Soviet spokesman Gerasimov says he cannot be released because he didn't sign a paper asking for pardon. But why must he be pardoned for being Hebrew teacher? And it's said not in Brezhnev's times. It's said today in Gorbachev's times.
When you were imprisoned, you could have been released a lot earlier too if you had signed similar papers.
Exactly.
Could you not?
Exactly. For many years I was approached by KGB and promised to be released if I sign a paper asking to be pardoned. And now they say that everybody from dissidents who will sign such a paper will be released. But is it really serious principle change? The change will be when they will stop arresting people under such articles and when they declare that it's against the law to arrest people for their views.
All right, Mr. Sharansky, it's a huge if, I understand that. But if indeed these 140 are released, and if indeed the next 140 are released, do you concede that that constitutes a fundamental change?
Well, if the people will be released, political prisoners, all political prisoners, and new people wouldn't be arrested, and these laws wouldn't be used anymore for repression of the people, no doubt that it can have a very positive, serious influence on the atmosphere. Nevertheless, what's really important that while Gorbachev only gives a sign about these ifs, Western media receives it as if it already happened. And if we'll, again, I turn back to the other very sensitive question, this question of immigration. Gorbachev, by his new law, which he recently passed, his law, not Andropov's, not Brezhnev's, but his law, which he recently passed, gave quite a clear message. There will be no massive immigration from the Soviet Union anymore, like it was 10 years ago. That people who don't have close relatives in the West now cannot even apply. They come to our offices and they said, no, now you cannot leave the Soviet Union even as guests. And not speaking about leaving it Soviet Union at all.
All right,
they refused to take documents from them. It was never before. And this is called liberalization. This is called openness. It must be called closing of the doors of the Iron Curtain.
Let me interrupt you for a moment because we do have to take a break, but we'll be back with you. And when we come back, we'll be joined by two American Soviet experts, Olin Robison, who has just returned from the Soviet Union, where he met with dissident Andrei Sakharov, and William Hyland, former State Department, CIA, and National Security Council official.
You're on your way.
Kids and science can really get together in the right kind of place. So Dow has developed and funded the Touch Tech Laboratory here at Impression 5 in Lansing, Michigan.
In this particular experiment, we're going to make a solid out of two liquids.
It's a hands-on museum that puts the wonders of science at a child's fingertips.
Here you go, PJ.
And who knows what that could lead to.
Dow lets you do great things.
The German Autobahn has no speed limit. Once on it, drivers test each other and their cars. But when the weather turns nasty and the road gets slick, it's comforting to be in an Audi 5000 Quattro. All-wheel drive and anti-lock braking can make a difference, you know. If it rains where you live, you're ready for an Audi Quattro.
Good morning, Doctor.
What's wrong with her? Von Willebrand's disease. Darby, look. The slightest cut or bruise can start you hemorrhaging. You need medical supervision.
I want Dr. Gates. See, she's got a terrible crush on the man.
They're thinking of making you chief surgeon. Chief surgeon? That's Trapper's job.
No, it's your job if you want it.
You have been formally accused of sexual misconduct involving one of your patients.
Trapper John, weekday afternoons at 3 on 5 TV.
Maybe you heard just a little crack is okay. Maybe you heard cocaine can't really hurt you. Well, you heard wrong. There's no home run on cocaine. You get me? Are you listening? Just a little bit of crack or cocaine can be addictive or even kill you. That's the real truth. The lie is It's the other guy who's going to die.
Cocaine, the big lie. Call 1-800-662-HELP.
A few years ago, when I appeared on behalf of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, I always hesitated to use the word cure. But today, I can use it with confidence. Many forms of childhood cancer can be cured. The child is the most precious gift we have. And with your help, we can offer a child a gift in return, the gift of life. Please support cancer research at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you.
When you sleep with someone, you're sleeping with everyone they've slept with. As AIDS spreads, practicing safe sex could save your life. Watch 2020 Thursday.
Watch out, Tom Cruise. Tomorrow, Ron Reagan relives the movie Top Gun. Also, Vanna White and John James and Emma Sams from the Colbys on Good Morning America.
With us live in our Boston bureau is the president of Middlebury College, Olin Robison, who in the past has been a behind-the-scenes go-between in U.S.-Soviet negotiations. He has just returned from a visit to the Soviet Union. And in our New York studios, William Hyland, Soviet specialist, former intelligence official, and currently editor of Foreign Affairs magazine. And you were part of a group of distinguished Americans who just went over to Moscow, Mr. Hyland, and met, among others, with Mikhail Gorbachev. Have you been thoroughly seduced?
Well, he's impressive, and I think he is different than his predecessors, and he's trying to do some different things. You saw some of them at the beginning of the show, but I am somewhat skeptical as to how far he will go and how far the system will allow him to go.
What do you think his objectives are? Do you share what Mr. Sharansky believes, namely that he's just trying to achieve the same end by blinding us with fast footwork here?
Not exactly. I don't think much of this is not addressed to the West. It's internal. He has a lethargic society, a stagnant economy, a rigid political system. He's trying to shake them all up, get some action, overcome the cynicism in the population. So he's making some gestures, and he's also introducing some real changes in the economy, especially.
Dr. Robison, how are you? I know you're favorably impressed, but is it favorably impressed with an overlay of cynicism, or do you think this is that we're approaching the millennium here?
Oh, Ted, I don't think we're approaching the millennium. It's very hard, I think, for any of us to watch what the Soviets do and not have it tinged with cynicism. And at the same time, I think it would be a mistake for us to think that they're incapable of change. I think what we're seeing in Gorbachev's pronouncements of the last couple of weeks, his statement before the plenum of the Central Committee 2 weeks ago yesterday, and the announcement of a sort of sweeping amnesty for a large number of political prisoners, or prisoners of conscience, as Dr. Sakharov calls them, is a man who's 2 years into his term of office, however long it's going to be, and I think he's a frustrated politician, a man who's got a stagnant economy, as Bill Hyland has just said. He came out swinging a couple of years ago saying that he wanted the country to behave differently, to work differently, to produce differently, and not much has happened.
Now, Bill Hyland says that he's doing it as much for internal consumption as external consumption. Natan Sharansky says he's doing it because what he really wants is Western technology, and therefore he's trying to blind us. What do you think?
I think it's more for internal consumption at this moment, and to the degree that it's for external consumption, I don't think it has a great deal to do with trying to impress us here in the United States. It seems to me that if there is a foreign audience for this, it's more likely to be Western European than it is North American. I think he has a number of major foreign policy objectives and goals where Western Europe is concerned. To the degree that this might have a favorable impact on that public opinion, I'm sure he would like to see that happen. But I think it's mostly domestic. I think that what he wants desperately to do is to cause the Soviet population to think differently, to act differently, to work differently, and produce more and better. And I think that it's a long and tough haul for him. He started out trying to persuade people to do that in the manner that Marshall Frady's excellent piece suggested, by rather Western styles and techniques. But I think what he discovered was that most Russians, most Soviet citizens stood on the sideline and applauded and waited to see what that was going to cause someone else to do.
Well, let me ask you, Bill Hyland, because I think many Americans still believe that a Soviet leader is in effect a dictator who can make happen whatever he wants to have happen. not so.
No, he has opposition. He acknowledges it, and I think it's a genuine opposition on the conservative side, and he has to struggle against it. But I think we should all be very skeptical about this. These are really gestures. As Mr. Sharansky said, if they were to let out 10,000 Jewish refuseniks, then you would begin to see a shift in policy. There's a great deal he can do inside the Soviet Union to really liberalize. What he's doing now, I think, is the beginning of a campaign, but I wouldn't be terribly impressed by it.
All right, Mr. Sharansky, let me ask you the question, then we're going to take a break, and then I hope you'll come back with the answer. The question is this: since Soviet Jews represent such a problem for every Soviet leadership, why not let 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, let them all out? Why not do that and then receive the plaudits of the world and get all the fruits of Western technology that you claim he wants in the first place? I'll come back to you for your answer when we continue our discussion in just a moment.
At AT&T, not only do we use the latest technology, we invented.
Scientists at AT&T Bell Laboratories invented the transistor and built the first electrical digital computer, which helped to make AT&T the most advanced and reliable long-distance network in the world.
Today, they're opening new frontiers with the use of lasers and photonics.
But we know that all this means very little without this.
David, you sound wonderful.
AT&T, the right choice.
Is this what a weekend is really for? Marriott presents the $59 two for breakfast weekend, where you can be alone together, lounge by the pool in sweet oblivion, dance the night away, one glorious night or a whole weekend for just $59 per night, not per person. A hearty breakfast for two is even included in the price. Marriott's two for breakfast weekend, $59 through March 28th. Call 1-800-USA-WKND.
Something on your mind? Like Valentine's Day? How about diamond? Oh, let's make that diamonds.
Love it. Where'd you get it?
The very affordable Valentine collection.
5 letters beginning with Z.
Zales 14-karat gold and diamond jewelry, $69.99 to $100.99.
Whose turn?
Mine.
If you've ever watched a child striving to live as you stood helplessly by her bed, if you've ever walked the floors to comfort a child who just couldn't tell you why she cried, if you've ever stood alone in an empty nursery and wept for a child that died, then you know what we in Variety have known. Join us, won't you?
With us again now, Olin Robison in Boston, William Hyland in New York, and Natan Sharansky in Jerusalem. Mr. Sharansky, since Gorbachev has so much to gain by letting the Jews out, why not let them all out?
Well, I am sure that the next step of Gorbachev, which I predicted already some months ago in New York Times article, will be just to release during a year about 10,000 Jews. But the problem is that he knows that it's not 10,000, that there are already 400,000 Jews who asked to leave the Soviet Union. And his aim is to present this gesture of releasing 10,000 as if it is the solution of all problems, with the help of mass media of the West, of course. But the problem for him is that there are millions of people who want to leave this country, and it's against all the principles of this system to let people do it.
But if I ask each of you now, very quickly, just to tell me whether you think there is anything at all genuine in the liberalization that appears to be taking place in the Soviet Union right now, you, Mr. Sharansky, quick answer. Think yes, no?
No.
All right, Mr. Hyland.
A qualified yes.
And why the qualified?
I don't think it'll go very far. I think there's massive resistance to it, and it'll eventually run out.
Mr. Robison?
A qualified yes, just like Bill Hyland. I believe that there are a great many people in the Soviet Union who want to change, but most of them want someone else to do it.
So, on balance, a good thing, but don't put too much stock in it.
Indeed.
All right, gentlemen, I thank you very much. Mr. Sharansky, Dr. Robison, Mr. Hyland, it was good of all of you to come and join us this evening. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been ABC News Nightline.
If you wish a printed transcript of this or any Nightline broadcast, please send $3 to Nightline Transcripts, 2 John Street, New York, New York, 10038. Nightline is a presentation of ABC News.
Thursday, the moment of truth.
When will we know which of us is the father?
Find out on the Colbys. And on 2020, TV Weather People. That's how some of our biggest stars got started. What it takes to become your town's favorite prognosticator.
Tomorrow, this is your TV station, 5 TV.